Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to play from the start. Everyone can see my screen. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Anderson, and I'm the Sustainable Communities Development Specialist for the IPM Institute of North America. We're an environmental nonprofit based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and our mission is to advance sustainability in agriculture and communities through market mechanisms based in integrated pest management. I was asked today to talk about sustainable management or management with limited synthetic pesticides and fertilizers of natural grass athletic fields. And I'm going to talk from the perspective of our Midwest Grows Green initiative at the IPM Institute, whose mission is to educate and empower citizens to take sustainable landscaping action that reduces harmful runoff into our waterways, protects the health of our most vulnerable citizens, and reduces negative impacts of pesticides on non-target species such as pollinators. We work with a lot of park districts, school districts, and municipalities in the Great Lakes and Midwest region to eliminate their synthetic pesticide and fertilizer applications on turf grass fields. And how we do that is by leveraging the soil. So that handful of soil that you see in this slide contains more than 200 billion bacteria, 20 million protozoa, and 100,000 nematodes. These organisms make up what we call the soil microbiome, and it offers countless benefits to turf grass and other vegetation. Things like recycling nutrients, breaking down organic matter, inhibiting plant pathogens, and balancing soil pH. So when we do our consultations with park districts, school districts, and municipalities, we're always looking at what's going on in the soil. And a lot of times we can determine the soil health based on just a picture or a visual site assessment. So I'm going to show some pictures in the greater Chicago area. And just a disclaimer, we deal with a lot of clay, heavy clay or high clay soils, which I also expect is similar to Ithaca, New York, but it might not be similar to other regions in the United States. But clay tends to be one of the largest issues we have for turf grass fields because it causes soil compaction, drainage, and weed issues. That is what's going on in this image from this picture. The weed in question is called henbit, and it is thriving in compacted soil. You can see in this image of this close-up that we're dealing with cracked soil. Clay soils, high clay soils, tend to crack in dry conditions. And if you see those soil samples, they're very gray, which tells us as we go deeper in the soil profile, we have low organic matter and low pore space. So what's happening is the water isn't infiltrating in our soil, and that's creating unsuitable conditions for our turf grass. On the flip side, clay soils can capture water and just lock that water in. And that is what's going on in this image. So this image is of saturated soil conditions with water. And so with saturated soil conditions and high clay, you have limited oxygen available as well as nutrients. The turf grass isn't going to set down its roots into that clay soil, that anaerobic soil conditions, because it can't access air, water, and nutrients. So we start to see this puffy behavior or growth pattern from our turf grass. And if we take some soil samples from this area, we can see kind of disfigured soil structure that we have in both of these soil samples. One is a deeper soil profile, one is much thinner because it's compacted, because something went over it to compact that heavily saturated soil. So what is the soil structure that we want? I say that we want, for clay soils, and really any soil, we want sponge-like soil structure. So if you think of a sponge, it's going to hold on to that water. But if you squeeze it, it's going to let that water go. That's what we want with our soil. We want our soil to hold on to that air, that water, the nutrients, but not hold it on so tightly that is suffocating our turf grass roots and causing these anaerobic conditions. We took a soil sample in this area, and you can see we have very deep soil, dark brown material, and there's actually an earthworm coming out. So that's telling us that we have that sponge-like soil structure. And that results in this dense turf grass system that is going to outcompete weeds and pests for air, water, and sunlight. And any turf grass specialist will tell you that the best defense against weeds and pests is a dense, deeply rooted turf grass system. I just want to mention that all those past few slides, all those soil samples was taken from one site, one park site in a Chicago suburb of Western Springs. So you can see we have varying different soil conditions throughout just one park. So how do we amend high clay soils? I'm going to cover some low cost options, and then I'm going to look at some higher cost options for athletic fields specifically. The first thing that we can do is we can mechanically reduce the compaction of our clay soils through aeration. Aeration is taking these holes 3 to 6 inches deep, or sometimes you can just poke holes through slicing, is what it's called. And as you can see on the image to the right, we have a soccer field and a football field, and the red shaded areas is where we get the most traffic commonly on soccer and football fields. So on the soccer fields, it's on the goal mouse. A lot of natural grass fields, if they're not maintained well, you'll see just bare soil on the goal mouse. And then there's more stress in the diamond area. Soccer players tend to not play in the corners of a field. And then a football field, it's between the 20-yard lines, and the hash marks is where we get the most wear. So a good turf grass manager will look at those wear conditions and hit those wear conditions with their aeration equipment. This is an example from Park Ridge Park District in Illinois in 2018. The manager in question is Chrissy Solberg, and she had this field that had a lot of bare soil and not a lot of dense turf grass. But she aerated the wear zones 4 to 5 times per year. She accommodated that with a seeding between August and September. And then she only used organic fertilizers, and she was able to restore and achieve that green, dense turf grass system, as well as that sponge-like soil structure that we want. Park Ridge is a western suburb of Chicago, just for everybody's knowledge. Another low-cost option to amend clay soils and obtain that sponge-like soil is to incorporate compost top dressing. So as you can see right now in this graph, we have applications of compost top dressing between 1.0 to 6.5 cubic yards per 1,000 square feet. And that can increase the organic matter percentage by 6 to 163%. Organic matter has that sponge-like soil structure that we want, and it can increase the water holding capacity by 5 to 143%. And we have actually seen at Midwest Grows Green success with incorporating compost top dressing, specifically on schoolyards. So this is a schoolyard in Chicago, Ray Elementary School, where we incorporate about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of compost top dressing each year. We reseeded the compost with a fescue grass mix. We covered it with straw, and then we irrigated. And within a month, we had a dense turf grass system where we never had that turf grass system before on the schoolyard, because it was low in organic matter and it was very compacted. So you see a lot of those weeds as well as that little turf grass on Ray Elementary School. So those are the low cost options. And I do a disclaimer that not all these low cost options are going to work for every field. There could be fields with too high of clay content. Let's say Cornell has high clay soils. They might require a lot of compost top dressing, grass seed, fertilizer, as well as aeration to meet the expectations for collegiate athletics. That doesn't mean, however, that we need to resort to a synthetic turf grass field. In fact, there are options that we can reconstruct fields to obtain that sponge-like soil structure. We might be able to do it with some native soils, but there's also some options such as the sand cap built up field. And these options, so it's basically using sand top dressing to improve the infiltration rate of our athletic fields. And these options, for a lot of times, have less costs than synthetic fields. So synthetic field, and we've mentioned it many times in these past presentations, costs up to $600,000 to $1 million to install. And then there are these material costs in terms of $6,000 per year, as well as some labor costs, 375 hours. Well, if you look at the SandCap built up system, installation ranges are from 58,000 to 103,000. 8,000 is the maximum for material costs, and then maximum 415 labor hours. So that is actually cheaper than maintaining a synthetic field. And this is just an overview of a built-up sand-capped athletic field system. The research is done from Dr. John Trey Rogers of Michigan State University. He's worked with a lot of athletic fields in the state of Michigan for high schools. They install some drain tiles, they put some coarse sand over those drain tiles, and then they periodically add some sand top dressing that is approved for use in golf courses as well as athletic fields. So this is a good way to improve drainage if you're having too much clay soil in our fields. And then you can accommodate that with some new technologies. There's one new technology called Drain Talent, which is a company based out in Europe, and they're using this technology for many athletic fields in Europe. The technology with a sand-based system will extract and store excess waters during periods of high rain. And then it will recycle that excess water during dry conditions, so it can stay green throughout a drought condition, and it can stay in play during after high rain events. So that technology is called Drain Talent. There's many more strategies that we can do to manage athletic fields without synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. If you want to learn about some of these opportunities, I highly encourage you to visit our website, lawnandland.org, where we have interviews and some case studies with managers like from Drain Talent. I know Jared Minnick was mentioned during some of these presentations. We have an interview with him, and we talk about compost top dressing, grass selection, organic fertilizers, and the list goes on. So that is a freely available resource, lawnandland.org. And if you want more on-the-ground technical assistance, we do have our technical assistance program here at Midwest Grows Green, where we have some turf soil scientists that do the consultations, and we develop 3-year sustainable landscape management plans that if you follow all those practices, you should be able to eliminate your synthetic pesticide and fertilizer use over a 3 to 5 year time period. So if you're interested in anything that I just presented, my name once again is Ryan Anderson, and my emails are anderson@ipminstitute.org. And thank you for having me for this important session.